What's up, you guys? Today I'm on the 21 MT09 again. Kind of wanted to just do a breakdown on, is this thing good back and forth to work, or if you're going to take it on longer weekend trips, you know, what is this bike kind of built for? And I've had this bike now for 7 months, and of that 7 months, there's probably only been a handful of times I haven't taken this thing back and forth to work. I've taken it back and forth down to my hometown. I've taken it all the way up to the Oklahoma border and back a couple of times. So I feel like I've put decent time on the seat of this bike to kind of be able to describe what I think this bike was really built for. It's not, you know, it's not a super sport. It's not the R7, it's not the R1. I do know that Yamaha has released that, or no, Yamaha has trademarked that they're going to be doing an R9 in India, I believe. So I'll throw some information to that right here on screen. If that bike is anything like what this is, but with fairings, that is something I'm really going to be interested in. This bike, as far as the power range or the power band, the sound it makes, the quick shifter, the electronics package, everything about this bike just screams street comfort. I'm a smaller guy, so cruiser bikes are not really, they're not really for me. I'm not big enough to pick them up if they go over. I prefer to go a little bit faster through corners, accelerate pretty hard, and that's not quite what cruiser bikes are ideal on. This bike kind of is that great middle ground. It's got really good power. Damn thing will pull a wheelie up anywhere through third gear and probably even higher if you're comfortable enough to do so. The quick shifter on it cannot be beaten. The electronics package on this bike is just amazing. Between the dash and all your little controls that you have, there's not a single thing I would complain about on this 2021 MT09. Plenty of power to do crazy stuff like that. I did get one of the first few on the market, so I did have to wait a little while for the exhaust on this one, but Acura, once they had one on the market, knocked it out of the park. The sound on this exhaust is insane. I love the way this bike sounds, and it picked up some pretty decent power for, you know, a little 900cc bike. I believe I'm at about 120 horsepower now, so that's not bad at all. I'm waiting for a company to offer some tunes, because once I can get that, I do want to be able to strap this bike to a dyno before I tune it. Once it's tuned, or I want to strap it to the dyno, get some power numbers before the tune, and then after the tune I want to see what kind of power it's making, see if it actually picks up a whole lot. With this Euro 5 emissions, I do believe that this thing is turned down a good bit, and if it's anything like the 2019 to current R1s, they can pick up some really good power out of just strictly a tune. So if that's the case, I want to try that out. I want to see what it would do with a good tune on it. See what kind of power it can pick up. Maybe tune the quick shifter a little bit. It is still a little bit aggressive, but as far as that goes, with 4,000 miles, this thing, the sitting position on it, before I put this windscreen on it, was kind of brutal. You were dealing with a lot of wind right at your chest, and if you were going anywhere north of about 85 miles an hour, you were kind of fighting the bike, and that just was not quite my style of riding. I do enjoy to go fast, so once I was getting to that kind of speed and I would have to try and lay on top of this tank, that wasn't right for me. But Untitled came out with this windscreen really early on this bike, and I believe I was one of the first few people to put it on, and I've loved this thing ever since. on it. I have not changed yet, but that is something I want to do in the future. This seat is not that great for longer rides. Like I was saying, going down to my hometown, it's about a 3-hour ride. Your tailbone does start to hurt a good bit after that amount of time, which I wouldn't expect anything less. I mean, it's a stock seat. I know Yamaha releases or has a comfort seat for this bike, but at the time we're recording, I was unable to find one. So for me right now, I'm short tripping this thing back and forth to work every day. I'm probably on this bike for an hour and a half each day between going to work and then coming back home from work. And this seat is perfect. I'm not sore from it. It's not so squishy that I feel like it's going to be a flat seat in a year. I feel like it has just enough comfort and padding in it that it will be a good longer term seat for what it is. I mean, this bike, when it came out, was really aggressive in its price point, and I feel like they did save a little bit of money by not putting the comfort seat availability, or the comfort seat right out of factory on this bike. Another thing I'm going to hit on is the fuel economy. This bike is still not all that great on fuel economy. I believe last time I checked, I'm averaging about 37 miles a gallon. And there's not a whole lot of gas tank on this bike. I believe it's 3 gallons. I'll correct myself on screen right about here, but it's not a very large gas tank. So if you are putting quite a few miles on it each day, you will be spending a lot of time at the gas station. At least it is cheap to fill up. But the ergonomics on this bike are just unreal. You want to throw this thing into a corner, you find the right gear and start leaning over, and the bike just takes it. I wouldn't say it's comparable to a Super Sport. A Super Sport will lap this thing all day on track, but for a comfortable upright seated bike where your feet are directly under you and you're not all folded up, this thing can take corners really well. And the ABS and the lean sensitive traction control doesn't let you get too crazy on it. The clutch is light on it. The clutch is really light. The clutch feels really good for normal highway use and normal street use. Even though I'm hardly ever using it on the street, once I'm out of first gear, I kind of rely on that quick shifter. It makes it so easy. But if you wanted to keep the bike from popping and from being, obnoxiously loud, you can use this clutch and shift the gears, or clutch in and shift yourself. And it also has it where in the instrument cluster you can turn off where the quick shifter will not work at all. So that's pretty neat. Again, just a lot of time that Yamaha spent making sure the electronics for this bike were just great for street use. We'll go right here next to him. That just doesn't get old. That's another thing that's really great about the layout of this bike. Everything on the controls wise is set up perfectly. Your flash to pass, your blinkers, your horn, everything's just really quick and easy to reach. You're not constantly worrying about if you're hitting the right button to get to your blinker or anything like that. It's really set up to be user friendly and reliable on making sure that you're going to get to the right button when you want to, especially if you're needing to use your horn or a blinker for any reason. So everything's within easy reach of your thumbs. You don't ever worry about having to take your hand off the grip to get to a certain button. Another really great thing about this is the suspension. The suspension on this bike is, I know the SP has the better, more adjustable suspension for track use, but for everyday street riding, this suspension feels really good. It's really comfortable. It's not too bouncy. It's not too rough. And I am 6'1" and 200 pounds, so I mean it rides really nicely for me. I'm not worried about hitting a big enough bump that it's going to make my butt come off the seat or make my feet come off the pegs. It's set up really nicely for the price that it's at. So that's kind of my final thoughts on, is this bike a good choice for somebody wanting to just get on the highway and ride for extended periods. If you want to see any more of my content, my channel link will be right about here. And if you want to see the process of this bike getting wrapped, just go ahead and click right here.